Evening. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for that kind introduction. I tell you that one of the things I'm not going to talk about is TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade Agreement. My job tenure would be short if I got into that before Congress had a chance to talk about it. I'm really happy. I'm delighted to be here tonight to speak about the U.S.-Turkey economic relationship. As the ambassador mentioned, Turkey is a country that's been one of my top priorities for the last 3 years. It's actually the country that I've traveled to the most. And in fact, I was just in Ankara a few days ago. And the reason I've gone there so much is not just that I like the food, that I like the people, that I like the country, but it's also that I believe that our bilateral and trade and investment relationship offers tremendous opportunities for our companies and for our countries, and that it's a relationship that's just about to take off, in my view. The headline is simple. Our overall bilateral relationship is both long-standing and strong. Prime Minister Erdogan's visit to the U.S. last month, when he met with President Obama, demonstrated, in fact, the strength of that relationship. But it also showed the growing importance of economic issues between our two countries. I, in fact, attended the lunch for Prime Minister Erdogan that was hosted by Vice President Biden and by Secretary Kerry, and I was impressed, very much impressed, by the business delegation of Turkish companies that were accompanied the Prime Minister. I like to say that we may have coined the term economic statecraft at the State Department, but in fact, the Turks have perfected the art of economic statecraft. You can't be in a country and see a government official from Turkey come down the plane and right behind them are 15, 20, 30, 40 government business people from Turkey. And in many ways, the visits by government officials are measured not only by the agreements that are signed between governments, but also by the deals that are signed by business people in both countries. I was also impressed, however, by the number of U.S. companies that sent senior level executives to meet with their Turkish counterparts, and it showed me that U.S. companies are more than ever realizing that there are great opportunities in Turkey, something that many of you here have known for a long time. What I'd like to do in the next few minutes is to focus on three areas, basically. Number one, where I see the economic opportunities for growth in our economic relationship. Secondly, how the U.S. and Turkish government are working together to help the private sector in taking advantage of those opportunities. And lastly, key economic issues that we need to work with. And as I talk about these, I'm delighted that I see so many friends, and I mean that, so many friends in the audience from the Ministry of the Economy, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, from people that we have gotten to know in the last few years. So let's start with our broad and growing economic ties. I don't have to tell this audience that Turkey has been a tremendous economic success story over the last few years. It's now the 17th largest economy in the world. It's the 7th largest economy in Europe. And most importantly, it has big ambitions. It has its 10 by 23 plan. This economic growth has been built on sound macroeconomic policies and investments in infrastructure and education. Our bilateral trade is also growing. In fact, it's nearly doubled between 2009 and 2011 and is on track to grow again this year. And when I talk about the doubling of our trade since the year 2009, just by pure coincidence, that's when I started working on the Economic Partnership Commission in Turkey. In the private sector, I would get a commission for that. At this dinner, I get your applause, and I'm very grateful. On the investment side, Turkey receives about 80% of its FDI from European countries, but most observers in Turkey believe that Turkey is, in fact, on the investment side, punching below its weight. It's punching below its weight in attracting FDI, and we think that the U.S. has a capacity to help remedy that problem as the Turkish government introduces initiatives to correct this trend. There are major U.S. companies such as GE, Dow Chemical, Amgen, and many others that have invested in the Turkish market. And Turkish companies, in fact, are increasingly pursuing investment opportunities in the U.S. One of the ones that I like to talk about is Turkish largest steel manufacturer, Borusan Mannesmann, which has announced that it's going to invest $150 million in a new manufacturing plant here in the U.S., something that makes our Department of Commerce folks happy because it is investment in the U.S. that will create jobs here. But, despite all that we're doing, despite the breadth of our economic relationship, I'm struck by how much more we can do. The fact of the matter is that the U.S. is not a major investor in Turkey. 4% of Turkish FDI comes from the United States. Turkey, until recently, has understandably been focused on its neighbors in the EU and in the Middle East. And many Turkish companies, for many, many reasons, haven't explored trade with the U.S. or U.S. investment opportunities. On the U.S. side, there are still too many companies that are still unaware of the size of the Turkish markets and their prospects for continued growth, given Turkey's relatively young and growing population. Growing economic ties, as I've learned, is difficult even in the best of times. But in Turkey, it's been complicated by several other factors. Okay, I'll just mention three. Number one, the one I just talked about, the lack of historical familiarity between our two countries on the economic side. Secondly, what I would call in polite company, the timidity of U.S. companies to take advantage of some of the opportunities in Turkey in the areas such as infrastructure, which I believe is one of the best opportunities in Turkey, and I'll talk about that in a second. And thirdly, what I would call structural issues. Turkey is primarily still a small and medium enterprise-based economy, and it's been driven by so-called Anatolian tigers that still have some problems in entering the U.S. market. It's a big market, and if you're an SME, it's hard to come into the U.S. And so that's why this conference is so important in getting the word out that there are significant opportunities in Turkey, and that unless U.S. companies get involved and get into the act, they're going to lose out. I believe that there's a growing awareness of this in the U.S., and the growth of this conference over the years is one indication that U.S. companies are in fact waking up to the possibility of Turkey as a trade and investment partner. I also think that Turkey has a big asset going for it, and that's the many friends that it has among the business associations that work on Turkish issues. Not just ATC, our host tonight, but TOB, TUSCOM, TUSIAD, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. All of these are doing a lot more to promote our bilateral economic relationship, often working with the Turkish and with the U.S. government. The Prime Minister's visit was one of the most recent and high-profile examples, but there are a number of others. There are a number of other initiatives that we've seen in the last few months as we explore these potential shared opportunities. And I keep talking, when I talk about Turkey, I keep talking about opportunities, and you'll hear me say the word opportunities many times. And let me just be specific about a few of the opportunities that I see in Turkey. One of them, and I think the most attractive one, and I know that tonight we will have someone who will talk, who is quite active in infrastructure, who can talk about Turkish infrastructure a lot more than I can, and much more educated. I know there was a conference session on infrastructure, so I'm not going to list all of the ambitious plans for hundreds of billions of dollars worth of investments in the coming years. But suffice it to say that things like IT expansion in schools, energy projects, and the new airport in Istanbul means that there are significant investments to be made in the infrastructure in Turkey. This is a great match for U.S. companies, and U.S. companies, of course, have great experience in providing sophisticated infrastructure solutions around the world, and it's one of the things that we have been working on and that I have talked to a number of our colleagues from the Turkish Contractors Association to see how we can get more U.S. companies involved in Turkish infrastructure. In the private sector, Turkish companies realize that to be more competitive, they also have to become more innovative and to increase their use of technology, such as expanding the integration of information technology and the internet into their processes. The Prime Minister's visit last month to Silicon Valley during his trip to the US, in fact, demonstrated the keen interest that Turkey has in making innovation one of the main pillars of their economy. And so this is yet another opportunity. US companies lead the world in innovation, and they're natural partners for US companies seeking to take advantage of the latest technology. And then the thing that we don't talk about as much as we should, is that Turkish consumers, the new Turkish middle class, has become an important market for US goods and services as their incomes have risen. Turkey has one of the largest populations in Europe. It has growing consumption of products from pharmaceuticals to entertainment. And again, this is a tremendous opportunity for US companies that are leaders in that field. In the US government, we realize that the important economic role that Turkey plays in the region and increasingly around the world, and we're trying hard. We're trying hard to strengthen our economic ties. Together, the US and Turkey launched the US-Turkey Framework for Strategic Economic and Commercial Cooperation, or in Washington speak, the FSEC. The FSEC discusses the overall strategic vision of our bilateral economic relationship, and we have two key economic dialogues under the FSEC. One is the Trade and Investment Framework Agreement, TIFA, which is led by the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, and also the Economic Partnership Commission, the EPC, that's led by us at the State Department. And now we have a third. We have a third conversation. While Prime Minister Erdogan was here, the U.S. and Turkey also announced the establishment of a new bilateral high-level committee to be led by the Ministry of Economy of Turkey and USTR here in the U.S. This high-level committee was formed because we realized that if we go forward on our proposed transatlantic trade and investment partnership with the European Union, that may very well have an adverse impact on Turkey, given its customs union with the EU. So we're still consulting with Congress, which is why I can't go very much deeper into this. And we're also consulting with U.S. stakeholders on TTIP. So this new committee is unlikely to meet for a little while, but the creation of this committee in response to a concern that Turkey had demonstrates once again our commitment to strengthening our economic relationship with Turkey. So I was in Turkey a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago in fact, for the 10th meeting of the Economic Partnership Commission. Together with our counterparts at the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the EPC, we meet twice a year, once here, once in Turkey, to talk about a number of issues like energy, infrastructure, financial, and agricultural issues, as well as topics such as one of the shining stars of our relationship, which is improving our relationship on entrepreneurship. During the meetings, we always we start the day by discussing some of the challenges in consultant speak, some of the problems that we have, and then we try and deal with those and talk about them. We also then talk about our economic opportunities, what we can do either to remove roadblocks or to create bridges between our businesses. We've had a number of good examples, things that I'm very proud of that we've been able to tackle in our EPC. Issues, for example, things such as the Istanbul Financial Center, the near zero zone work that's being done in Izmir by our Department of Energy folks, and a number of other specific concrete projects that have led to real results and real benefits for both of our countries. And so I've found that our discussions in the EPC are in fact some of the most invigorating, some of the most concrete, some of the most productive discussions that I've had in all of my meetings with all sorts of foreign government colleagues. At the last meeting, the meeting we held a week and a half ago, I was struck by something that I hadn't been struck by before, and that's just how much we've been doing in order to expand our trade and investment relationship. At one point, one of the Turkish officials listed all of the business promotion events that they were doing in the U.S. in the next few months. They were doing things in Houston. They were doing things in Columbus, Ohio. They were doing things in my home state, in New Jersey, and all sorts of places. And then our folks, the economic and commercial folks from our embassy in Ankara, went on about all of the trade delegations that were coming from the U.S., the seminars that were going to be held, and a number of other business-related events. And at some point I said, look, stop giving me all of these things. We need to keep an updated written list of all of the events so that we can keep track of what's been happening and when it's happening so that we can coordinate it. And that's both a problem in the sense that we've got to get coordinated, but it's also a great sign. It's a sign of how invigorated that relationship has become and how many things we have going on. And I can tell you another sign is the fact that a number of the people in this audience are people that I have seen in the last couple of months, literally every other week. And I hope that that's a welcome comment. So let's talk about our goals. Let's talk about the future. When we look at the future of our economic relationship with Turkey, we start with Turkey's 23 by 10 or 10 by 23 vision. These are truly ambitious goals, including becoming one of the top 10 economies in the world, of exporting annually over $500 billion. And in order to get there, Turkey realizes that it's going to have to address some critical issues. Its economy, it will have to become more transparent, more predictable, and more innovative. This is something that countries all around the world have discovered. They've discovered that as their economies develop, they need to create a more transparent and predictable business climate in order to continue to move forward. Turkey clearly is on that path. It's undertaken significant economic reforms, and it knows that it needs to continue to push forward on these issues and that they will be critical to Turkey for its long-term economic success. Many in Turkey, in fact, have recognized that innovation and entrepreneurship are keys to continued economic growth. They're keys in our country as well. And this provides us with an opportunity to discuss with Turkey the importance of strong intellectual property enforcement, and therefore IPR has become an important part of our EPC dialogue, and we've expressed some concerns with Turkey's IPR enforcement. The good news, and there's lots of good news, the good news is that when we discuss IPR with Turkey in the context of innovation, in the context of economic growth, Turkish officials clearly agree. They clearly understand the benefits of a robust IPR legal and regulatory environment for Turkish inventors, not just US investors and Turkish innovators. In fact, a few weeks ago, Turkey hosted in Istanbul the 7th Global Congress on Combating Counterfeiting and Piracy, which showcased for the region the importance of IPR protection in creating an innovation-based economy. And so we're going to continue. We're going to continue to work with Turkey and continue to look for areas of collaboration on IPR issues for the benefits of both US and Turkish rights holders. And so one of the things as I look and as I've looked at the last 3 years of our economic relationship with Turkey, one of the things that always strikes me is the benefit of having highly sophisticated Turkish companies that are strong potential partners for US companies, not just in Turkey, but in third countries. We've all heard of Turkey as a bridge between Europe and the Middle East. We've all heard and seen Turkey and Turkish companies working in North Africa and Central Asia. In today's globalized economy, Turkey's geographical and cultural position means that its companies can be partners not just in Turkey itself, but in surrounding regions as well. And this will benefit American companies as they look for partners in new markets. One of the things I noticed in one of my first trips as Assistant Secretary when I went to North Africa was how the place seemed to be dominated by Turkish contractors. They were all over. And they were active in Tunisia and Libya, in Algeria and Morocco and elsewhere. And there were very few US companies. And so I was very happy to see today that you had a session on third country cooperation that was held today as part of this year's conference. I'm also very encouraged, very encouraged that after a lot of discussions and after a lot of trying, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is committed as part of its U.S.-Turkey business initiative to supporting third country cooperation between Turkish companies and U.S. companies. The Chamber is in fact currently researching these opportunities and will organize a conference that I'm really looking forward to on this topic of third country cooperation for U.S. and Turkish companies, scheduled now in November. So let me conclude, if you haven't figured it out already, that I'm very bullish on Turkey's economic prospects, and I'm even more bullish on the prospects of our bilateral economic partnership. I've seen firsthand over the past 3 years how fast U.S. and Turkish companies are moving to expand their relationships, but I've also seen how much more we have to go and how much further our economic relationship could in fact extend. And so I think that we've just scratched the surface, and I'm really excited to see what we can do together in the future, which is why I'm delighted to have been here today and why I'm so delighted that the ATC has decided to do its conference on things like infrastructure, third country cooperation, and a number of other areas where we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assistant Secretary Fernandez. That was a highly appreciated remarks, and we certainly appreciate the special effort that you made to be with us this evening. I know that you have to leave for another dinner, so thank you for having at least the appetizer portion of this one, and we wish you many thanks. Now, if we could proceed by inviting Ambassador Armitage and TIKE Chairman Hollick-Dincher to come to the podium, and I'd like to ask if Amin Sezak would come as well. I think this is an opportunity for us to recognize for a few moments the fact that one of our valued corporate members is celebrating his 50th anniversary. It's, hold on a minute. Somebody, where is Aisha?
Wrong citation.
I've got the wrong, I've got the wrong, I've got Ambassador Richard Doney's citation here. So somebody scramble down to the office and come back with the right citation. This is anybody got a, actually the chairman can do the Psy imitation of the Gangman style here. So.
I think we can all do that together.
He was just in Seoul, and he said that he not only practiced Gangman style, but he did the new one. What's it called?
Mother, Father, Gentleman.
Mother, how many of you knew that? Mother, Father, Gentleman. Yeah.
Jim, when you've got 8 children, 6 grandchildren, you know these things.
I'm paying the penalty of not having checked. Thank you for your patience. Yes, as I said, this is an opportunity for us to recognize the 50th anniversary of an important corporate member, Yüksel Construction. And I'm going to read the citation here, and I'm going to ask if our co-chairs could present the chairman of Yüksel Construction the certificate and the award. And the citation reads as follows: in recognition of the 50-year anniversary of the founding of Yüksel Construction and decades of corporate excellence in the field of international construction, in recognition of its chairman's vision, leadership, and dedication, and for his longtime support of the American-Turkish Council and American-Turkish relations, the special award is given to Yüksel Holding.
Thank you, Ambassador Holmes, Chairman. I think this is more than 12 years that we've been a member of ATC, and I'm sure I've been attending at least 8 of those years to this great gathering. And over the years, myself and a few of our colleagues that are here have tried to add new topics to ATC agenda. It's always been mostly defense and aerospace industries, of course. The natural progression was energy. Naturally, over the years 2000s, the energy issue was immediately put in the topic. Of course, we wanted to include infrastructure and construction. I'm thankful to see that over the last few years, now we have a topic of infrastructure, be it in Turkey for the 2023 vision, or a collaboration in the third countries. But having said that, of course, Yüksel Holding is not only, the construction is its core business, but we're not only on the construction sector. We are also investors in energy, information technology, specifically for healthcare. And over the years, as I tried many times to make more friends here in America on this construction sector through ATC, it was not successful. So in order to make more friends, I decided to enter into defense and aerospace industry. True, now we have a composite materials manufacturing capabilities for civil and military aircraft industries, as well as a defense initiative that started as an R&D project, actually, but now it's a fully developed product of a remotely controlled weapon station on turrets for mobile and fixed stations. So I'm hoping that we will see more of each other in the future, and I do appreciate for your kind award, and this came in a good time for our 50th anniversary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and with that, it concludes our event this evening, the dinner. We are a little bit ahead of schedule, and you're certainly welcome to remain at the table and enjoy your coffee or tea if you wish to do so, but otherwise our evening is concluded, and we will start with a plenary tomorrow morning. Actually, there's a Golden Horn meeting, breakfast meeting at 8 o'clock. So thank you very much, and have a pleasant evening.